In this video, I will demonstrate how a thesaurus works in Dialog by walking through an example in two of our most commonly used databases for biomedical searching, Medline and Embase. First, I'll explain what a thesaurus is in this context and why it can be such a useful tool for improving your Dialog searches. And at the end, I'll show you how to find the full range of databases that have a thesaurus in Dialog. So let's get started. On Dialog, a thesaurus is more than just a collection of synonyms. It is a search tool that helps you to identify the preferred term in a database for the concept that you're searching on, and then use that term to improve your search. Thesaurus searching can let you find records that use terms for your topic that you might not have been aware of, and that can expand your results. And at the same time, it can bring greater focus to your search by finding records that use your term in a relevant way that has been indexed for you. This may be best understood by looking at an example, so that's what we'll do next. Here I've gone into two databases, Medline and Embase. Both are excellent for biomedical searching, and each of them has its own thesaurus to help guide and improve your term searches. Embase is particularly strong on pharmaceutical topics. And in this example, we want to find articles about any adverse or toxic effects of the drug acetaminophen, also known as Tylenol. In either the advanced search or the command line search mode, you'll find a link to click for thesaurus. This opens a new window listing any databases you're in that have a thesaurus. We'll start with Medline, which has what it calls the mesh thesaurus. Click here, and in the search box, I'll type acetaminophen, which to me at least is the commonly known term for this drug. Click Find, and in this case, right away we see acetaminophen, and it has two icons next to it. And this tells me that acetaminophen is considered the preferred term for this drug in this database. I'll click on it, and we get what's called the hierarchical view, which is a little busy, so I'll select the relational view because I want to see whether acetaminophen has any narrower terms within it, so that I can decide whether I want to search those as well. In this case, we see that acetaminophen falls under several different broader terms or areas, but there are no narrower terms. Now, if there were any narrower terms, then I could decide whether I want to put a check mark here under Explode. What that would do is to search not only on acetaminophen, but also on all of the narrower terms, which would tend to get you more results. In this case, since there are no narrower terms, that's not a consideration. The other box we could check off is under Major, and what that would do is limit our results to only those records where acetaminophen is indexed as a major mesh term, meaning that the record is very much about that topic. Typically, a record may be indexed with a number of different mesh terms, but only a very small number of major mesh terms. So checking this box will bring you a very sharp focus, but you might miss some records where acetaminophen is discussed. So for this demonstration, I'm going to leave this unchecked. Clicking this first icon, the one that looks like sticky notes, gives us a brief description along with the CAS registry number and some historical information, and also a list of other terms that the preferred term, acetaminophen, is used for in this thesaurus. In other words, if we're looking for records about any of these terms, we can do that very effectively just by selecting acetaminophen in the thesaurus. And that is one of the most powerful and important benefits of using the thesaurus. The other icon, a sort of funnel, shows us the qualifiers that we can select to make our search more specific. In this case, I'm going to check off adverse effects and also poisoning and toxicity. Notice these little arrows, which you can click to see some notes that explain how the qualifier is used. Now I click Add to Search, and as you can see, this automatically fills in the search box here in Advanced Search. And this is another great thing about the Thesaurus in Dialog, because you could create this search manually, as you see it here, but you'd have to be very careful with how you place the parentheses and the quotes and the hyphens, and anyway, you might not know all the preferred terms when you start your search. But the Dialog Thesaurus is designed to guide you through doing the whole process with simple point and click, so that it's very easy and it's all done correctly with no problem. So we're done with our Medline search. Next, we want to look in Embase. So I'm going to click up here on Select Another Thesaurus. This time I click on Embase Thesaurus, and we're back on this search box, where we see acetaminophen is still filled in for us. Click Find, and in Embase, we get a lot of terms or phrases that include acetaminophen, but none of them have the sticky note and funnel icons. So in Embase, this is not the preferred term. Now we'll click on acetaminophen, and we see that in Embase, the preferred term instead is paracetamol. Now we'll repeat the steps we took in Medline. We're already in the relational view, and here again we see that there are no narrower terms, so there's no decision to be made about whether to use explode. If we click on the sticky notes, we see that Embase has a much longer list of what this term can be used for in doing a search because, as I mentioned, Embase is especially strong on pharma content and also on how to search for it. Clicking the funnel, we see that the qualifiers in the Embase Thesaurus are actually divided up into separate tabs for diseases, drugs, or devices. We'll go to the Drug tab and check off adverse drug reaction, drug toxicity, and maybe add unexpected outcome. If we want to know what this means to help us decide, we can click these arrows to see the notes. Click Add to Search, and now we have our Embase search, all created for us and filled in. We want to make sure we have the OR connector selected here, and we're ready to run our search across both databases. And there we have it. Any duplicate records found in both databases have been removed for us automatically. From here, we can go ahead and modify the search any number of ways. We can apply a date limit, we can use any of these narrow by filters, or we can combine this result set with additional terms. But meanwhile, we've done a great job of getting the records on the subject of adverse effects of this drug by using the Thesaurus feature on Dialog. Embase and Medline, as it happens, are two of the databases where a thesaurus is most commonly used, but Dialog has quite a few other databases that include a thesaurus, and here's how you can see what they are. You can go into all of your general databases, then click again on Thesaurus, and the list you see will be all of the databases on your account that have a thesaurus. Some of them are medical or biological type databases, but there are also a number of them for engineering. InSpec, for example, is a very broad-based engineering database that has a good thesaurus. And there are databases here for education, economics, politics, petroleum, and more. And you can access any one of these thesauri by clicking on it here. So that's it. I hope you will find the Thesaurus to be a valuable search tool and a useful part of your Dialog search experience. Here are some links to additional information, and if you have any questions or need some help, please feel free to call the help desk or email us at customer@dialog.com. Thanks for using Dialog, and enjoy the rest of your day.